I've got the absolute pleasure of being joined by the one and only k1llsen today. Now, despite sitting at the top of the EU and CIS standings at the moment, it's not all been plain sailing for you. You currently sit with 4 wins and 3 losses. Can you kind of talk to me a little bit about your form and how you're feeling about it at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, there are mixed feelings, of course. Of course, you want to win like every possible match you can. And yeah, it seems to be not working out the way I wanted to have it, but also came down a little bit to lack of practice in the middle of the season. So yeah, you know, especially since last week, I'm absolutely back on the grind, and I know how important this last match is going to be when it comes down to placement in the world ranking and also in the EU leaderboard. To keep my first place, it's necessary for me to win this last matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because obviously you'll be playing against Raisi this week. He's a player that's looks so dominant at pretty much every step of the QPL. How are you kind of feeling about going up against him, and what's your practice and preparation going to be like?
I mean, I'm going overall quite confident into this duel. Yeah, I think, you know, it's quite 50-50 overall between him and me. I think online I have a bit of an upper hand, and offline on events he has a bit of an upper hand, it seems like, so far in the past. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm confident about this matchup, especially under these circumstances. So I do feel very confident about it. But also, I mean, he's also taken quite some losses, and that shows, you know, he's also not always that monster he seems to be often. So there is a way to stop him. Like, he's also bleeding like every other human, you know?
I like that analogy. That's very, very cool. You kind of also alluded to the fact that you feel like your practice and preparation hasn't been totally up to scratch in the sort of midsection of Quake Pro League. What are you kind of doing to rectify this? What are you sort of focusing on now?
I mean, I have good examples of how to play the game, like my QuakeCon shape, for example. I still feel like even Rafa has been incredibly good in Poland, in Katowice. Still, my QuakeCon shape hasn't been touched yet. Like, I've been just on a way different level of understanding the game and everything, and I'm trying to reach exactly that point again. So, you know, I watch my VODs of it. I mean, of course, the game has changed and balanced a little bit. So you got to keep that in mind while, you know, investigating how every situation is playing down. But yeah, I try, you know, to mix how the game is working out right now with how I played back then. And yeah, I mean, all you have to do is play a lot and put a lot of work in watching VODs, analyzing, and all this kind of stuff. And I want to make sure to be in the best shape possible, especially for the finals.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned the finals there, because going into them, you're always one of the names that's in contention with taking the gold home. What are you thinking about your form going into the finals, especially due to the unorthodox way it's going to be approached this season?
I mean, I can already feel an upward trend about my shape, so I think I can make it happen to get a really good shape and, you know, get into, like I used to do, to go into tournaments, and always, or most of the times, being able to take a top 3, top 4 placement. And then it just comes down, you know, about creating the best ideas possible out of the match. And I mean, it's gonna be a little different this time. About the stage finals, we are not at an event and everything, so we're playing at home. That's gonna feel a little bit different, because I'm a person who really likes, you know, having people in front cheering players up and stuff like that. I really like that kind of environment. Others might don't, and they might even be stronger because of this fact that they are playing from home now. So we will see how everything turns out in the end. I mean, I just try to make, you know, to be as prepared as possible.
Yeah, I think everybody's really interested to see how it's going to be playing out. And I think many will agree that you're a player who just is known for such a crisp aim, really. Can you kind of talk to me about how you practice your aim specifically?
I mean, it's really hard to explain. I mean, every viewer can and player can tell by watching. It seems to be a very fast sensitivity, but it's not. I'm using a bit of mouse acceleration. It's really not a lot, but it makes my sensitivity look kind of on medium to high speed at some moments. But I'm used to this kind of style since I began playing Quake, actually, because I had someone to look up to, my mentor back then, Diablo. And I loved the way he was playing the game, and I tried to duplicate it. And somehow I created my own, very weird style of aiming onto opponents and tracking. It's like very special. But I'm very known for my rail shots though. So like my flicky style also comes down to the bit of mouse acceleration I'm using. So I'm possible to do these kind of shots. But it takes a lot of practice actually to fully get used to the mouse acceleration. Because, for example, if you're just sitting in front of the PC, there's no mouse acceleration on the desktop, for example. And your memory, your muscle memory still is in action, even if you're just on the desktop. You're still using your mouse. You have it in your hand like you usually would play. And it's really playing a lot and getting used to the settings you have in games.
Oh, that's really interesting to hear. Now, it's always interesting as well to see new faces coming into the QPL. Are there any particular players you think viewers should be keeping their eye out on?
I mean, I'm really not sure about the American players that made it to have a shot for the QPL, but I do know about the two guys from EU, Gapi and CNZ. I mean, they both have been already in the QPL, so one of them might be able to make it happen. We will see about that. But below them, I can feel there's a gap. So it's gonna take a little more until someone else is gonna reach the point where he's gonna have a shot into the QPL.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today, and best of luck in your games this weekend.
Thank you very much.